Take a second and think about the biggest headaches in your day-to-day operations. Inventory chaos, ticket times dragging, tech that's supposed to help but somehow makes things worse. Now imagine solving those headaches with one shiny new tool, a smoother process, or that perfect piece of tech you didn't know you needed but now can't live without. Sounds pretty great, right? But getting to the right solution, tailored, cost-effective, and actually useful, surely takes deep pockets and a full-time back-office innovation team, right?
It was a big enterprise type thing to do. We were punching above our weight class, but we found a light solution that let us punch above our weight class. We realized that we were putting so much more effort to maintaining our own solution that was quickly lagging behind what was available on the market, because we're not an app development business. We're a bowl making business. We're a friendliness and fun business.
In this episode, we're heading back to school. Well, sort of, because that's where we meet today's guest, Henry Borgeson, CEO of Roots Natural Kitchen. Running a brand born on a college campus, Henry brings a kind of insight that's equal parts scrappy startup and scaled up savvy. And he knows that solving operational headaches doesn't have to mean blowing the budget or building your own tech empire. So if you're wondering about when to build, when to buy, or how to grow without breaking what you've already built, this episode is for you. I'm Rachel Staten Marcus, and this is Science of Service, the podcast where we uncover the strategies behind building successful hospitality businesses. Whether you're a seasoned operator or just starting out, you'll find insights and inspiration to help you thrive. So let's get into today's show. In most college towns, the local food scene is built around busy class schedules and late-night traffic. Quick, greasy, and usually more about soaking up that night's decisions rather than fueling up for the next day. But in Charlottesville, Virginia, a group of UVA grads had a different idea. What if there was a place where students could get food that actually made them feel good? That's where we find the roots of Roots Natural Kitchen, and it's where Henry got introduced to the brand. Not as a potential candidate for the top job, but as a student, happy to try out something new.
So I was living with one of the four founders. He was bringing home the food every day while they were crafting the menu, and Roots ended up like a life-changing experience for me. I didn't even realize it at the time, but I needed Roots on the corner because I was just going to bars and I was, eating burgers, and I was just eating like a college kid, and I struggled with weight in high school and while I was at UVA. And then I started eating Roots every day. And over the course of the year, I shed like 30, 40 pounds. I now run marathons. And it was all because I basically fell in love with El Jefe and the other stuff on the menu, fell in love with barbecue tofu, went mostly vegetarian. And then, so the guys, when they were trying to open up their second restaurant, they reached out to me to help with the business side of things, which really was jack of all trades, corporate employee number one, and led to a lot of fundraising and then over the span of 3 years, went from being asked to help one of my buddies with a restaurant I fell in love with to running the thing 3 years later. Now have been shepherding our growth for the last 5 years as we grow out to more college towns and then also grow up with our customer base in those college towns.
Henry's first taste of Roots and the El Jefe Bowl, which I'm told features brown rice, kale, black beans, charred corn, avocado, feta, pita chips, and chicken, if you're feeling it, was nothing short of life-changing. Just the way great food should be. From being a jack of all trades to now wearing the CEO title, Henry's journey has mirrored the growth of the Roots brand itself. Getting started meant calling in some big favors. Family pitched in to help fund the dream, and local chefs helped craft the kind of crave-worthy, healthy, fast casual meals that would speak to a college crowd. And speak to them, it did. The results? Unsurprisingly, it was a big hit. And in some ways, not so different from the fast casual spots we all know and love today.
It's fast casual, salads and grain bowls. But when you walk into a restaurant, you'll see the grill right out front. We serve a ton of grilled chicken, a ton of grilled barbecue tofu, a ton of grilled mushrooms. And what's a little bit different about Roots compared to a lot of our other, fast casual peers is we sell signature bowls. And so most of the time when a customer walks into Roots, they get El Jefe, which is a pre-crafted creation, or the pesto Caesar. They're unique blends of ingredients that make it easier. This is all about making it as easy as possible to eat natural. And So you can walk in, you can order the Jefe, and you can feel confident that you're going to get something that tastes really good, that leaves you feeling pretty good, and that you'll feel healthy eating it.
When Roots launched back in 2015, like most new eateries, they were focused on the menu, the mission, and the momentum, not planning for a global pandemic. But then again, who was? As we all know, COVID turned the world, and particularly hospitality, upside down. And for Henry and the team at Roots, the challenges were very real, especially given their college-centric locations and customer base. They had their own particular hurdles to navigate, and how they adapted says a lot about the heart behind the brand.
We were basically only in college towns at that point, and we were in college towns where everyone was walking into the restaurant to order food. And that's true, except with the one exception of we had built out our own mobile ordering app. And we had also just started testing third-party delivery at one location. But in the span of 2 weeks, we went from 95% of our revenue happening on that in-store make line to 80% of our revenue being digital, either third-party delivery or mobile app. And then the other thing that was interesting for Roots is, again, we were in college campuses. So most of the students had gone home, but we were able to recover almost all our revenue by serving food on digital channels. Some students still in town, but it was to actually the broader community in those cities where we operated. And that was a clue to us that, maybe Roots is indeed something more than just a college campus focused restaurant. There's actually tons of people who want to eat healthy, awesome bowls like what we're serving.
One of the big things that helped Roots weather the storm? Community. The strength of the brand meant that they had more than just students grabbing lunch between classes. They had a wider circle of loyal fans, including locals who were hungry for healthy options during those long months of lockdown. But that wasn't their only secret weapon. Roots also had something many businesses were scrambling to figure out: a mobile ordering app. Plus, they had a way to deliver their bowls straight to your doorstep. During a time when convenience and safety were everything, that made a big difference.
I will admit that it seems crazy today to have gone down that path because there's so much technology that's available. But I'm going to bring us back to 2017, 2018. We are just a restaurant that's focused around selling food to college students at that point in time. And it's still just the case that iPhones were becoming, like Snapchat came out while I was in school. It had become a shift to everyone was doing everything on their phone very recently. And also phone screens were still small. And so it just seemed to us that if we wanted kids to be able to order the food on their phone, we needed to have an app. We didn't even have web order up at the time. We knew we needed an app for people to be able to order Roots on their phone. But if you wanted to get one of those things, you'd have to go to a digital agency like Bespoke to make those things for you. There wasn't like commonly available technology. And if you wanted to have a conversation with folks like Olo, like you really needed 50 restaurants. You needed big unit count to get like the enterprise players to pay attention to you. And we were like 3 or 4 restaurants at the time. So we approached some local software engineers and built a very bare bones thing that we were just testing into at our one location in Charlottesville, that it just so happened we built out that very bare bones beta version. We'd been selling food on that app in Charlottesville for 1 year when the pandemic hit.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned before, did you guys hire an engineer yourselves? And is that kind of the path you took?
Yes. So the path we actually took was we hired an engineer as a contractor first. And then once the pandemic hit, we actually hired a full-time engineer and have since had a full-time software engineer on staff to help with solving technological problems, really that we've, to some degree, manifested for ourselves, but good problems as we've built revenue through digital streams, through a blend of the platforms that are available, but also the technology we built for ourselves.
Running any multi-unit restaurant group already means juggling 100 moving parts. Staffing, prep, inventory and orders, guest satisfaction, the list goes on. But adding custom tech to the mix can feel like tossing a new special onto the line right in the middle of service. You might be able to roll with it, but more likely you're going to end up with a whole lot of chaos. And that's kind of what Roots experienced in 2018. They had a new app where guests could order on their phone and then collect in person in store. with some common sense coding and parameters to run the app and keep the mobile orders manageable, they were ready to go live. But even common sense and best intentions resulted in a rollout that Henry now fondly refers to as the great app fiasco of 2018.
The logic we had put in place was that we gave people 10-minute intervals that they could order for. So you could schedule your pickup at, 1 p.m., 1:10 p.m., 1:20 p.m., or at noon. And the logic under the hood of this bare bones app we built that was that we would set the order threshold, which meant when the number of orders equaled a certain number, no more orders would come in. That's how we built out the logic. Seems like good logic, right? Like when the number of orders is 10, no more orders. Except we wanted to get things off to a hot start. So the first day we launched our app, we priced bowls for $1. And we told all the students at UVA any way we could that it's like, if you download our app and your bowls are going to be $1. And the students of UVA were quite excited for $1 Jefes. So the second the app was launched, a ton of people downloaded and placed a bunch of orders, and a lot of people wanted to get lunch at noon that day. And they blew right past the 10 order. The order limit was never triggered. We don't know how, but we jumped right from 8 or 9 orders right to 11 orders, all the way to there was no stop. And so we were up to 1,500 orders for the noon time slot. And so we had a line wrapped around, basically the whole UVA corner was people lined up thinking they had a $1 Roots Bowl. And that is how we launched our app, which helped get some adoption, and probably even more adoption, but also made for a absolutely brutal day on the line at Roots Natural Kitchen. When you're doing it yourself, that's the sort of stuff you don't know enough to know where you are making mistakes. And like what seems like good sound logic, when you put it out into the real world, the outcome can often be different than what you've anticipated. And that was just the first iteration of that, but a fun and not so fun one at the same time.
Yeah.
So the great app fiasco of 2018? Definitely one for the Roots history books, and a pretty powerful lesson in the importance of staging and live testing the hard way. I also think maybe the bear owes them some royalties or at least some free therapy for the PTSD after watching a very similar scenario when Carmi and Sydney turned on their mobile orders. But thankfully, Henry said he hasn't seen the show. Turns out doing a soft launch in a sandbox environment is a fantastic concept, necessary, some developers might even say. But how do you even create a low-stakes environment for testing when your operation is already underway and your time is already committed to the daily grind? Back then, Roots, or any operator for that matter, didn't have the app development tools we might take for granted today. So they rolled up their sleeves and built their own from scratch. Now, though, there are so many options to choose from. But with all that choice, how do operators decide what's worth the investment? Should you build it yourself like Roots once did, or go with a plug-and-play solution? And maybe most importantly, how do you make sure your tech isn't just shiny and new, but actually solves your real operational problems?
We've refined this approach over time, or developed this perspective over time with doing things like developing our own app, which I'd still hold we had to do at that period of time. If you can find a cost-effective way to do it, that's when you can consider doing it. But those situations are rare. When I look back on 2017, 2018, when we built our own app, it was one of those situations where we were still early on. It's really hard to imagine like how quickly COVID helped drive digital ordering adoption. It was a big enterprise type thing to do. We were punching above our weight class, but we found a light solution that let us punch above our weight class. But then COVID hit, and there was so much investment that went into what was beforehand just enterprise grade solutions. Now, Toast has online ordering systems that work. Lunchbox, our partner who's been great, has an awesome online ordering system that works. Incentivio has an awesome online ordering system that works. And so when we got out of the pandemic, we realized that we were putting so much more effort to maintaining our own solution that was quickly lagging behind what was available on the market, because we're not an app development business. We're a bowl making business. We're a friendliness and fun business. And so that is when we looked out and we were like, we can do this much better, much more if we just use commonly available technology. Let's figure out which one of those technologies we want to use. And today we use Toast as our POS in-store. We use Lunchbox to power our online ordering and app ordering. But one place that I think we're unique, that we still have technology that we built ourselves, that we use in our operation every day, is our kitchen display system. Our mobile ordering app was actually two pieces of technology when we built it. It was what the customers engaged with, but it was also what our employees engaged with in the back of house. And because it was our own light solution, we built it like it wasn't going to integrate with anything. We had to build that. But we ended up building a really light solution that converted the order into something that directly aligns to what's going on our make lines in the back of house. And so it processes the information and then presents, as you move down the line, the one tablet on the one end shows the bases, the rice and the kale, and then the first slot of ingredients. And then you jump down to the second slot of ingredients and the proteins. And it transforms the order into information for the folks on the line on what specific ingredients they need to put in the bowl. This sounds like something that'd be simple and commonly available, but most back of house KDSs that are commonly available today are really just a digital chit, a presentation of the paper forms that used to hang up above the make lines in the back of house. And when you apply that sort of technology to Roots, what you end up with is bowls that are heavily customized with crossed out ingredients, and it's just a very confusing thing to read off a tablet and look down at a line full of ingredients and see three things crossed out and see mushrooms added in and red onions added in. And you end up with increased error rate because of the technology that's commonly available. And so that's where we've made the decision to continue to invest in having our own KDS, because we think it solves a problem more efficiently than what we've observed on the open market. And we spend a lot of time looking for open market solutions because we really don't want to be in the technology building business. And it's only if we think we have something unique that we have to solve, or because of how our platforms are working together, that we'll spend the time to build something.
Coming out of the pandemic, the tech landscape shifted. Roots no longer had to build everything from scratch, and that gave them the breathing room to focus on the solutions they truly needed. With Toast handling point of sale and Lunchbox powering their online ordering, they finally had the bandwidth to tailor their kitchen display system, crafting a custom solution for their custom bowls. And with those systems humming along, they could turn their attention to growth. For a long time, Roots concentrated on college towns. It made sense. Their model clicked with students, and proximity to campuses offered a fast track to building brand awareness and word of mouth. But when the pandemic disrupted everything, something unexpected happened.
So today, we talk about our growth strategy today as growing up with our customer. So first, we were in mostly college towns. When the pandemic hit, most of the students went home. But it was really our Richmond and Pittsburgh stores were thriving the most. Like, all the stores did well through it, but Richmond and Pittsburgh had actually better years than we were expected from a revenue perspective during COVID. And that was really a clue to us, like, oh, we're serving, like, it's not just the kids, it's the people who have graduated and grown up or live in Pittsburgh and Richmond who have found out about us. They love Roots too. And so coming out of the pandemic, we actually ended up opening a second restaurant in Richmond and a second restaurant in Pittsburgh. And those two restaurants are two of our strongest performing restaurants today. So then that unlocked the idea of, hey, like, we're not just, universities are a great way to enter a market. It's fun to operate around 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, but also they'll try you really quickly. And if they like you, they'll let everyone know about it on social media, and they'll fall in love with you so quickly, and you'll be part of their college experience. If you're confident you're doing something great, it's a really quick way to build brand awareness. Simultaneously, a quarter of your customer base leaves every year. If they move to a different part of Pittsburgh, we want to put a restaurant where they move after they graduate. And we know that if they're moving there, there's probably plenty of young professionals that want to eat our food as well. And then they get older, they have families, they move to the suburban more parts. We want to grow up with our customer base that's fat. So we build buzz around the university, and then we grow up with the demographic in the city, and we follow the students within the city. And so that's how we've gone from just a university focus to a urban suburban focus around these university markets, and eventually continue to follow the people who have fallen in love with Roots while they were in school.
Following the customer is a smart way to grow, and it brings us right back to implementing the right solutions. To run a smooth operation and scale successfully, you need systems that truly work for the people using them day in and day out. Just as importantly, those systems have to serve the people at the heart of hospitality's mission, the guests. Especially now in a post-COVID world where the digital environment is here to stay and isn't always as flexible as we'd like it to be.
I would say industry standard error rate on digital orders seems like it's something probably like 1%. That's like my rough, but that means like 1 out of every 100 customers we've basically all accepted that we get their order wrong. And I don't think that's where that can't be the long run equilibrium. Like the restaurants that get that down to 0.1% and 0.01% will win. The restaurants that let that grow or balloon or get complacent that that's where it can be will churn customers over time. And so one of the experiences we have is our third-party orders have to flow through the Toast KDS because of how that integration works. And our native orders flow through our own custom-built KDS because Lunchbox today has very good API technology, so we can write right to it, where Toast, it's hard to get access to writing to their API. And what we see is on our native orders, we have an error rate that's like 0.1% or 0.2%. And on our third-party orders that flow through the Toast KDS, we end up with an error rate of like 1.5%. And this means most of the negative reviews Roots gets today are related to missed orders on third-party delivery marketplaces. And so that's where we're disappointing customers most often. It's really because of the technology that we brought together to rapidly execute on that sales opportunity during COVID. Well, now we're 4 years out of that, and there's some great customer-facing technology that's been developed. But bringing all the different places that customers expect to buy food today together we're still navigating through that challenge. And then like planning how we produce all that food every day, we're still navigating through that challenge in real time. And we have a couple different technological pieces, but we don't have it all solved. But to your point, making it easy, it's basically the reason we have a higher error rate is that's a reflection of us making it too hard for our employees. And then you have to learn too much and you have to be able to process too much beyond what's reasonably possible. They want to make the bowls right. Like everyone at Roots wants to make awesome bowls. Like we love it. We have 700 employees. They love making bowls. They want to make them 100%. And it's like our ability to make the technology work for them in a way that makes it easy for them is a key ingredient to our being able to grow successfully.
Yeah, because it keeps your customers happy and it keeps your team members happy.
Yes.
You said that you guys spend a lot of time looking for technology, especially if you think, it's not a unique problem that you have, like with the bowl ordering system. What do you look for when you're finding a new technology partner? Like, how do you suss out who's got what you are looking for and also that they can actually deliver on what they're promising?
That is a really good question. Every day, I get like 10 emails and probably 1 text message and 2 phone calls of software I need, or like people telling me that I need it. They're advertising emails, and there are a lot of problems that restaurants have. And so it's sometimes it's almost like if you're like tired and you catch those at the wrong time and be like, I got to buy the software because I have a problem. What we do internally is before we go out and buy any software, we're really disciplined on writing down a job description. It's actually laddering out. Roots runs on job descriptions, or like you will not hear me ever say I've used AI to write our job descriptions. Like we're very intentional. Every word in any of our job descriptions, we mean it. It's something we expect to hold you accountable to. And we think that helps everyone know what swim lane they're in. That's how you can build an organization if everyone knows what they can depend upon each other for. Yeah. We think of that the same way for software. If we're hiring a software, we're hiring them to do a job. So before we buy a software, we write down the different things that we want that software to be able to do. And then we build our referral set. We make sure we get at least 3 to 5 potential softwares that we could look at for that job. And we take notes in those disciplined places that we think we were looking to solve a problem. And then we get together and meet and we say, just like we do for hiring a new general manager for a new store, we have a caucus and we say, which software do we think who wants to do this job and can do this job? And then we pick based on that. And then so, yeah, we've done this a few different times recently, but that's before we commit to hiring any software, we write a job description and then we interview candidates and we see which candidate we thought did the best for solving the problem that we laid out.
I really love that mentality, actually, because I mean, that's what you do when you hire people in your stores. So it makes sense that you should do that because the technology is essentially a worker for your organization. And I feel like that's really a digestible way to approach bringing on technology, because sometimes that can feel super daunting to operators. Not every operator is, very technologically adept. They're not creating their own apps all the time. So I really think that's a smart way to kind of suss out who's going to be worth it and what solution is actually going to make your guys' lives easier.
And I think we've all had the same experience with employees, right? At some point along the way, we thought like, oh, if I just hired this one person, my problem would go away. And it's really actually, well, all your problems aren't going to go away from one person, and all your problems aren't going to go away from one software. But if you're really clear about the problems you have, at least you give yourself a fighting chance of finding the right candidate if you're hiring an employee, or the right technology if you're hiring software or the blend of software and hardware.
These days, Roots isn't just slinging bowls at their storefronts. They're a multi-channel operation with a fast-growing catering arm and a seriously focused approach to tech and operational systems. One stat that really jumped out during our chat: if they were still running on their pre-COVID model, their revenue today would be half of what it is now. That's a reality check. But for Henry, it's not about what could have been. It's about spotting opportunities. And one of those big wins: catering. Healthy, hassle-free food brought right to your office or event. It's a fantastic idea, and something we even do with local clients twice a week at Margin Edge HQ. Just like going digital to connect with customers during the pandemic or growing with loyal fans into new cities and suburbs, catering is helping Roots reach a bigger market. And it's all thanks, at least in part, to their sharp strategic tech playbook.
Our catering business has grown a ton. And that's because we've both embraced CaterZen as a tool and then also EasyCater as a marketplace. Part of what we did was just look at the technology partners in the catering space and see which ones would make it easiest for us. By making it easiest for us, it unlocked a ton of revenue. When you unlock a ton of revenue, you have more money that you can use to solve problems. So looking for technology that can help you unlock revenue can then help unlock the profitability that can help solve a bunch of other problems. Whereas it's hard to save your way to prosperity, but if you can use technology to get to customers in what is a complex, bifurcated, many modal customer world today that it just wasn't the same before, I think that's another piece of advice I'd give, that there's revenue in the right technology partners.
Yeah, that is such a good point. You can't save your way to profitability. It's kind of like, you got to spend money to make money.
Yes. But the great thing about technology is, like, for catering will be about 20% of our business this year. That's all incremental compared to where it was before. By finding the right technology partner that was just solving a monthly fee, we built something that could grow our revenue by 20%. That's huge. That's more value than any cost saving.
Yeah, of course. So for those who would choose to build their own technology, like creating a custom ordering app, what would you say is the key to making that successful? Do you have any crucial tips or pitfalls that you've learned from your experience?
It's fun to be creative. One thing that's fun about restaurants is at least every interaction with a customer is an opportunity to be a little bit creative, and it's fun. You're serving people, and it's fun to flex those creative muscles. You can end up down a rabbit hole if you're trying to flex your technologically creative muscles. So just being really tight about the definition of where you think you have a unique problem, and then making sure you scope that problem to whoever's going to be doing that work for you. Today, there's plenty of ways you can directly engage with outsourced engineering firms on like a fractional hourly rate. And you can find yourself an engineer that will basically do anything, but the efficacy will be on how tight you are in defining the problem you have and making sure it stays within scope. Like that's the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, you can convince yourself that you should be building your own POS. And I assure you, right, you can get down that rabbit hole pretty quickly. And that is not if you find yourself saying like, I think we should just build our own POS. That's where you should.
Red flag.
You should realize you've wandered about 2 miles into the dark and dangerous forest, and you're gonna need to trot your way back conversationally. There are $30 billion titans, and all the strongest financial services firm want to win that game. Roots is a great restaurant, and I assume if you're listening to this podcast, you've also got a great restaurant. But we're not financial titans. It would be highly improbable for us to build the next great POS.
Yeah. That's definitely a red flag. Definitely, if you're seeing the signs, dreaming about making your own POS, maybe take a step back.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Thinking about the way that you did business before COVID, is there anything that you wish had not changed? Is there anything you miss about that time?
Oh, that's fun. Look, I don't order much food off third-party marketplaces. When I go to a restaurant, I go pick up my own pizza. I like to go to the Chinese food place. I like to go to the Thai place. And I'm picking up the food and taking it home to eat with my daughter and wife. We're eating it together. And like, there's something about the food experience that it's really nice to go see someone and take the time to see someone and know that it's someone making your food, and for that experience to be felt on both sides of the equation. And I miss that for people. I do think there is something nice for the customer about coming in store and experiencing Roots in store, because we take great pride in developing an experience that feels friendly, that feels inviting around natural food. Like, one of our goals is like for you to feel like you were invited to the party that is natural food at Roots every time you walk in. I loved the line out the door Roots where we started, where it was 1,000 people were coming to a rockin' party every day, where we were mixing up those bowls on one line and trying to get it down as fast as possible, and we were being friendly and fun. And now it's the same sort of thing, just split across a variety of channels. And I would just say for everyone, I think it's nice to get out there. For the stuff that you're used to doing by digital pickup, sometimes go stand in the line and just see the people that are working that day. I think it means something for the people eating the food and the people working to make that food to know that there was some human connection behind it as well. And so we still focus our business around that interaction is meaningful, that the food's got to be great, but the interaction around it has to be great too.
Thanks so much to Henry for joining us today and for walking us through the challenges and the solutions he's worked through and continues working on. From building an app before it was cool in true late 2010s hipster heyday fashion, to finding partners that help Roots scale, to unlocking new markets and revenue streams with tech, there's a lot to learn from Henry and his team. They are growing with intention and, of course, staying true to their roots. You'll find a recap, links, and a few extra nuggets in the show notes, just in case you want to dig deeper or even be the El Jefe of vibe coding your way to your own KDS. Terms and conditions apply. Vibe coding success not guaranteed. Signs of service assumes no responsibility for late night debugging, coffee, or anything stronger, dependency, or rogue printers. I'm Rachel Staten Marcus, and if you enjoyed Science of Service, please rate, review, and subscribe. And if you know a fellow operator who's got secret engineering aspirations or just wants some guidance when it comes to choosing the right restaurant tech, be sure to share with them as well. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.